Have you ever made a wild guess and then watched it actually happen? Most of us might call it luck. But throughout history, some people have made predictions so strange, so oddly specific, that when they came true, the world couldn't decide if these people were geniuses, time travelers, or just really, really good guessers. Today, on ChronoGlobe, we're diving into the weirdest, most bizarre predictions that ended up coming true. From ancient prophecies, to sci-fi writers predicting future tech, to ordinary people who just somehow knew what was going to happen. Get ready. Some of these will blow your mind. 1. Jules Verne predicts the moon landing, a century early. Let's start with one of the most famous sci-fi authors in history, Jules Verne. In 1865, Verne wrote a novel called From the Earth to the Moon. In it, he described a mission to send humans to the moon. But here's where it gets spooky. He predicted that the spacecraft would be launched from Florida. He said it would carry 3 astronauts, and that it would splash down in the ocean upon return. Now remember, in 1865, airplanes weren't even a thing yet. Space travel was pure fantasy. But over 100 years later, in 1969, NASA's Apollo 11 mission launched from Florida with 3 astronauts and landed in the ocean. Coincidence? Or did Jules Verne have NASA's future blueprints in a drawer somewhere? 2. H.G. Wells and the atomic bomb. Science fiction has a scary habit of turning into science fact. And H.G. Wells proved that in 1914 with his novel The World Set Free. In it, he described a new kind of bomb, one powered by atomic energy. He even wrote that these bombs would keep exploding for days after being dropped, causing mass destruction. Fast forward to 1945. The atomic bomb became reality. While Wells didn't get every detail right, he nailed the concept years before scientists could make it happen. In fact, some nuclear physicists admitted his book inspired them to explore the idea. Which means, sometimes fiction really does lead to terrifying reality. 3. Mark Twain predicts his own death mark. Twain, the famous author of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, wasn't just witty. He was also oddly prophetic about himself. Twain was born in 1835, the same year Halley's Comet made its appearance in the sky. And he once joked, "I came in with Halley's Comet, and I expect to go out with it." Guess what? In 1910, Halley's Comet returned. And just one day after it was closest to Earth, Mark Twain passed away. Some call it fate. Others call it creepy cosmic timing. Either way, Twain saw it coming, literally. 4. The sinking of the Titanic. Predicted 14 years earlier, in 1898, author Morgan Robertson wrote a novella called Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan. In his story, a massive luxury ocean liner, called the Titan, was described as unsinkable. It struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic. There weren't enough lifeboats, and more than half the passengers died. 14 years later, in 1912, the Titanic disaster happened, and the similarities were chilling. Even the ship names were nearly identical. While Robertson claimed it was just a coincidence, the details match so closely that conspiracy theories have been swirling ever since. 5. A Simpsons episode predicts the future. Again, if there's one TV show that has predicted the future over and over again, it's The Simpsons. In 2000, an episode called Bart to the Future imagined Lisa Simpson becoming the President of the United States right after Donald Trump. 16 years later, in 2016, Donald Trump actually became president. That's not all. The Simpsons have predicted smartwatches, video chat, Disney buying 20th Century Fox, and even parts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Coincidence? Or is there a time traveler on the Simpsons writing team? 6. Arthur C. Clarke predicts satellites. In 1945, science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke published an article about the future of communication. He suggested placing satellites in geostationary orbit to beam signals around the world. At the time, no one had even launched a single satellite. But just 12 years later, in 1957, the first artificial satellite, Sputnik, went into space. Today, we depend on satellites for GPS, internet, weather forecasting, and more. And Clarke's wild idea is now the backbone of our modern world. 7. The London Times predicts the Titanic. Twice Morgan Robertson wasn't the only one to foresee the Titanic disaster. In 1892, 20 years before the ship sailed, the London newspaper The Times ran a fictional story about a massive passenger liner that collided with an iceberg in the Atlantic. The short story described the icy night, the speed of the ship, and the tragic shortage of lifeboats. It's as if the universe was giving multiple warnings, but no one listened. 8. The 9/11 attacks and the 1990s. Card game in 1995. A role-playing card game called Illuminati, New World Order came out. One of its cards, called Terrorist Nuke, showed two tall buildings being hit by an explosion. The artwork looked eerily similar to the Twin Towers in New York. 6 years later, the September 11th attacks shocked the world. Some people believe it's pure coincidence. Others say it's proof that art sometimes predicts life, in the most disturbing ways. Leonardo da Vinci's helicopter. Leonardo da Vinci was a genius in many fields: art, anatomy, engineering, and apparently predicting future tech. In the late 1400s, he sketched a design for what looked like a helicopter, powered by human effort. It was never built in his lifetime. But centuries later, his concept would become the basis for real helicopters. Da Vinci also drew ideas for tanks, diving suits, and even a machine gun. It's as if his imagination was running hundreds of years ahead of his time. 10. The London Underground Accident. Foretold in a novel in 1892, a book called The Great Thunderstorm described a fictional train crash on London's Underground Railway. The novel even gave a date: February. In February 1924, a real train crash happened in almost the exact location described in the book, killing several passengers. While no one could prove the author had any special knowledge, the eerie accuracy made Londoners shiver. 11. Winston Churchill's 1931 tech predictions. In 1931, Winston Churchill wrote an article for the Strand magazine predicting future technology. He imagined wireless phones you could carry in your pocket. He predicted humans would be able to reproduce without traditional pregnancy. He even described something similar to today's computers and the internet. Many of his wild guesses are now part of everyday life. Turns out Churchill wasn't just good at speeches, he had a pretty sharp eye for the future. 12. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet American psychic. Edgar Cayce was famous in the early 1900s for entering a trance and making predictions. Some of his most notable include the 1929 stock market crash, the start of World War II, and the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. While skeptics argue many of his predictions were vague, the accuracy of certain events keeps his legend alive. 13. Nikola Tesla predicts smartphones. In a 1926 interview, inventor Nikola Tesla predicted that one day people would carry devices in their pockets to instantly communicate with anyone on Earth. He even said these devices would allow us to see and hear each other in real time, basically describing video calls, decades before the internet or mobile phones existed. Tesla didn't just invent, he imagined the future we're living in now. 14. A novel predicts the internet. In 1898. In 1898, writer Mark Twain published a short story called From the London Times of 1904. It described a telelectroscope, a device that connected people across the world, letting them share news and communicate instantly. It sounds exactly like the internet, right? And this was written more than 90 years before the World Wide Web. 15. The Berlin Wall's Fall. Predicted in a song in 1989, just months before the Berlin Wall fell, musician David Hasselhoff released Looking for Freedom. The song became an unofficial anthem for people in East and West Germany longing for unity. When the wall actually fell later that year, many believed the song had somehow predicted or even inspired the moment. History is full of strange coincidences, bold guesses, and predictions that sound ridiculous until they turn out to be true. Some come from brilliant scientific minds, others from artists and storytellers, and sometimes from completely ordinary people. Whether you believe these are examples of vision, luck, or something more mysterious, one thing is certain. The future might already be hiding in someone's imagination right now. So next time you make a wild prediction, write it down. You never know. You might end up in a ChronoGlobe video one day.